our children don't owe us anything. We owe them. They never asked to be born. Is having children a blessing or is it a burden? My lovelies, welcome into my head. This video is dedicated to my two lovely, amazing sons. So let's dive right in. Get yourself a coffee, get yourself a cup of tea or a wine, and let's have a conversation. Moms, dads, all parents gather here. So I discussed this topic with my sons. Actually, the moment I told him about the title of the video, he was like, "Oh, mom, that's amazing." And I was thinking, okay. Actually, I was not sure about putting the burden bit, if it wouldn't come off so hard. And I was like, no, mom, that is actually very, very good. That's a very nice topic. And then we had a conversation a little bit, what he would think if he saw that title and so on and so forth. So my loves, let's dive right in. We'll start with the blessings. Okay, so if you ask me if parenthood, if children are a blessing or a burden, I would say yes, they are a blessing, but they can also be a setback. I prefer to say setback, or they can also be a challenge. They can slow you down. I find the word burden too hard, but unfortunately, yes, in some cases, children can be a burden in some circumstances. Worst case scenario, but I'll be talking about that when we get to that bit. We'll start with the blessings. Like I said, I'll be drawing a lot, of course, from my personal experience, and that's why I invite you to join the conversation in the comment section and give your own experience or your own thoughts about this, because that way we get a broader meaning of understanding, because every parent's experience is different. For me, my children are a blessing. They are the biggest and best blessing I'll ever have. They're everything I ever wanted and more. I always wanted to be a mom, so getting them, having the honor to be their mom, to call them my children, for me is the biggest miracle, the closest I'll ever come to God. In my children's eyes, I see God, I see pure love. And yes, for me, they are definitely a blessing. And I believe having children can also be a chance to have a family, an unconditional family. We have our other families, our mom, dad, grandparents, extended family, our siblings. But when you get your own children, it's a different kind of family for me. And that is something that I treasure a lot, because I know when I got my children, I got my forever unconditional family. And I'll be talking about that when we get to the setbacks, why children are truly still special, even if things don't turn out right at the end. But I'll be explaining that. So for me, I'm thankful for my children, because through motherhood, through the opportunity to become their mom and to parent them, I got a family. And that is something that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't gotten children. My children have really, really pushed me out of my comfort zone. Believe me, if you follow me on my socials, like I always say, I'm a soft life girl. Like, hustling is not in my bones, it's not in my genes, right? But when you become a mom, children push you out of your comfort zone. Let me tell you, you have the fears of not living out to the expectations, because for me, I believe our children don't owe us anything. We owe them. They never asked to be born. I actually had this conversation with my kids, but that's a conversation for another day. And I thought about it myself, like our children weren't there somewhere waiting, "Oh, mom, please bring me into the world and let me struggle and go to school and hustle." No, it's a selfish decision to become a parent to some extent. So for me, I became a mom because I truly, truly desired it. But my children wouldn't have missed out on anything if I didn't become a mom. They didn't even know this world existed. So definitely, I owe my children everything and a lot, and they don't owe me nothing. And that is some kind of pressure. Personally, I not only knew I wanted to be a mom, but I also knew I wanted to be a very, very good mom. And that's why I always talk about intentional parenting. I hope that one day when I'm long gone, or even when I'm still there, grandmother, on my crutch, that my children will look me in the eyes and say, Mom, you were a good mom. I aspire to be that. So definitely that has pushed me out of my comfort zone. They pushed me out of my comfort zone to work harder, to even reflect more upon my life. And of course, the fears that you carry with you every day. Are my children safe? Am I making the right decisions? You know, you're even scared of death, just because you are a parent. Yes, I think the kind of fear you have when you're not a parent is different from the kind of fear you have when you're a parent, because you're not just scared of, oh my God, I'm going to die and miss out on life, but you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to leave my kids. I want to see my grandchildren. I want to see my children graduate. I want to see my children get married. I want to see my children start their own life. So it definitely pushes you out of your comfort zone. But also, children help you understand the true meaning of unconditional love. Well, I'm someone that is very loving and all, but my children have taught me what unconditional love is. And that is both ways, from myself and from my children. Like, I'll give an example. No matter what your children do, like what we'll be talking about in the setbacks, they are always not perfect. They will do things that will drive you, bring you to your limits, but still you love them so deeply. It doesn't change on anything compared to other kinds of love. Your siblings, your partner, if they do something wrong, there'll be days when you don't love them, but with your children, no matter what they do, you still love them. And then the unconditional love, like I say, I aspire to be a great mom. I do that every day, but I'm also not perfect. I make mistakes, lots of mistakes. But to see how my children still love me through it all is amazing. And that is what, for me, has been the discovery of unconditional true love. And that's why I believe truly that children are, to a great extent, a blessing. Not forgetting, children can help you connect to a part of your heart that you never knew existed. There's that part of our heart that is only reserved for parenthood. That's what I believe. Like, no one can ever reach that part. Nothing can ever make you reach that part except parenthood. And that part of your heart is vulnerable, is unconditional, is special, is very forgiving, is very reflective, is giving, is selfless. And I treasure that. That part, thanks to my kids, I have been able to reach that part of my heart that I would have never discovered. So for me, it's an honor to be a mom. My children are definitely 1000% a blessing. And like I said, moms, go on. I'm watching. Go on with your comments. Let's have a conversation. Tell me about your experiences, because we all have different reasons why we were parents or why we're not parents. I have a video about that. So I'm curious to know what you think about this topic. I also believe it's only through parenthood that you get the honor and superpower of, having your heart walk outside of your body. I believe parenthood, especially motherhood, is having, honestly, the superpower of having your heart walk out of your body and it still beats and breathes. But again, like I said, it will be like in that, not really setback, but that is the challenge. That means if your heart is walking and beating outside of your body, you have more trouble and pressure to make sure your heart goes on beating. Your heart goes on undamaged, unlike someone's heart that is stuck within their chest cup, if you get what I mean. So it is scary, very scary, to have your heart beating and walking out of your chest. But like I said, it's a miracle. It's a superpower that for me makes me see God every day. And that's why I say, in my children's eyes, I see God every single day. And that is something I wouldn't have wanted to miss out. And that makes my children very special. And that's why I believe having children, if you have them because you desire them, because you are ready, and not out of unfortunate circumstances, then they are truly a blessing. Like I said, I'll also be drawing on my personal experiences. And for me, oh, this makes me emotional. One of the special things or the blessing I've got through my kids is they've helped me heal the little girl in me. They've helped me heal my traumas, my life traumas. They've helped me connect with a child that I wasn't able to connect with growing up. Um, my younger self, and they've helped me see that little girl in me on a daily basis. You know, when you see your children, they are somehow a reflection of you. For me, parenting, that would be a video for another day. But the times I look at my children and I think, what an amazing life, you know, I'm giving them the best life. I'm giving them the best of the life that I had in my childhood, but even all that I didn't have, you know. So they're having the best of the end of the stick, let me put it that way, you know. So sometimes I look at them and I have to heal the little girl in me. I have to heal my personal traumas. I have to reflect on my life. And I, some in a way, live through them, you know, seeing them happy, seeing them live the dreams that maybe I would have wanted to live as a child but didn't, seeing them enjoy the things or kind of relationship that I have with them is for me a very, very big blessing. I'm trying not to be emotional because that is something also very, very personal for me without really going deep into it. I've been able to learn and grow through my children. I've always said that on a daily, and I tell that to my children. Being an adult, being a mom, being a parent doesn't mean you know it all. It doesn't mean you can't learn from your children. I learn from my children every day. They're very intelligent people, and children have a lot to teach us because they've not yet gathered a lot of dirt and burden of this world like we have. So they're baggage free, they're more honest. So the life is more unfiltered, and you get to learn a lot from them compared to adults. And for me, I learn from my children every day. I learn to be a better person. I learn my weaknesses. I learn to reflect more about life. And I improve my life, not just as a mom, but in general, every single day through my children. So many different examples that I can't give here, but definitely for me, my children have been a very, very good factor and big factor in my life growth, you know, and navigating life. They've been really, really very important. Hmm. How can you talk about having children and not think about your parents? Having children, for me, has helped me appreciate my parents even more. You know, like I really, really worship my parents and appreciate them. But getting children made me realize all the sacrifices my parents had to make, how difficult it must have been to raise us, but they made it seem so easy. It made me be more compassionate and have or give my parents more grace because honestly, like I said, no parent is perfect. So every child has those moments where you're like, oh my God, how could my parents ABC or things I would have wished to be different? But now I give my parents more grace because now I know how difficult it is to be a mom, to be a parent, to raise children, the worries, the fears you have. You worry about the future, you worry about the performances in school, not because school per se is that important, but unfortunately, you know that they will need that in the future. And then every time I think of my parents, their worries, their fears they had to make sure that I get a really good life, probably even a better life than they ever did, to make sure that my future is secure, you know. So it really, really makes me see my parents in a more different light and appreciate them and also give them more grace in instances where I felt like, oh my God, I didn't like this. Oh my God, how could they, you know? I give them more grace because I've had the honor and the blessing of being a mom myself. So that way, children are definitely a blessing because if I didn't become a mom, probably I would have gone on to take my life for granted and everything my parents did for me and sacrificed, you know, for granted, you know, much as it is their duty, just like it is my duty to raise my kids, make all those sacrifices. Again, like I said, no child asks to be born. It is always our selfish love decision to bring the children in the world. Much as it is out of love, it is always a selfish decision because you're trying to fulfill something within you that you desire. So I prefer to call it a selfish love decision. Parenthood is a selfish love decision. Finally, from the blessings, like I said, this video is dedicated to my lovely, lovely boys. So one of the toughest times, or I would say actually the toughest times that I've ever had to go through in my life was when I had to go through a divorce. And I believe to 98%, I managed to get through it the way I did because of my children. Of course, the other percent for God for supporting me, but otherwise it was mainly through my children. My children were there for me, and they were very small. You would wonder how were they for you? Were they there for you? But they were very understanding. They were very patient with me. They were very compassionate with me. They gave me grace, and they also pushed me beyond my boundaries. Like I said, kids will push you beyond your boundaries, and we grew up to become a very strong, intact team. Up to this day, my children are not just my sons, but they're my friends, they are my buddies, they're my life. I mean, they're my heart. So my children for me are the greatest, greatest blessing. And that's why I would say children are definitely a blessing. And even now, like, they're a little bit older, but still they carry me through life. They somehow empower me in a way that I wouldn't have expected, because you always think as a mom you're the strong one, you should be knowing it all, you should be perfect. But my children have told me I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to know it all. I don't have to have it all sorted out, because we are a team. And I really, really, really love my baby so, so much. M and D, I love you so, so, so much. Thank you for being amazing sons. Woo, we made it without crying. So let's go to the part of our children are burden. Like I said, I'll prefer to say setback, but yeah, fact is they can be a burden. Unfortunately, if they turn out wrong, if your child becomes a thief, a murderer, and I'm taking the worst case scenario, it's unfortunately the parents who suffer, because you have to live with the shame. Society blames you, although actually most of the time parents have nothing much to do with that. But you carry the burden. And of course, like I said, setback, you carry the pain. Parental love is unconditional. Even if your child becomes a murderer, you wouldn't want them murdered. You'll still do your best to protect your child. And that can be really, really very challenging and take a toll on you in every single aspect of your life. So in that case, definitely children can be a burden. There are children that make their parents' lives a living hell. Maybe they're aggressive, maybe they abuse substances and terrorize their parents and all that. Yes, they can be a burden, unfortunately, if things turn out wrong in the worst case scenario. And then the setbacks, of course, the financial. um Children are very, very expensive, I'm assuring you. Oh my god. I always have this joke with my kids. I'm like, I really appreciate my parents for all the sacrifices they made for me. And then we're still in Africa. The parents have to pay school fees till, like, you're done with university and everything. At least here in Europe, the financial burden is not so high. But still, the expenditure on your children on a day to day life is unbelievable. So, definitely, that can be a setback. So, you have to plan well, work hard, make sacrifices to be able to afford your children and your family the kind of life that you desire and that is also good. Um, it can also be a setback in terms of career, especially the moms. It's always the moms that have to sacrifice the career, stay at home, take care of the kids. I did the same. I'm lucky that I had the privilege, not personal decision, but I had the privilege to be able to stay at home and take care of my kids for a good number of years, or for their very, very early childhood. I believe that was a very, very good thing. And I'm glad I had the privilege and the opportunity. And if I had to start over again, I would still do it that way. But still, that way, you get to sacrifice your career. So many years got sacrificed out of my career. So definitely that can be a setback. not forgetting the time. Oh my God. As I shoot this video, I just dropped my children off to some, appointment. And besides my work, driving to work and all that, I don't know if I was to count all the drives I have to do, driving them to school, driving them to the medical appointments, driving them to their dates, driving them to their hobbies. Like, it's a lot of time that you really, really invest in your children, not just the driving, but the emotionally, the planning. Children can really take up a lot of time. So definitely, depending on your circumstances, that can be a very, very big setback that requires a lot of planning, that can be exhausting. So if you ask me, to be honest, for me, those are only points I can come up with. But it could also be because um I'm so passionate about motherhood. Like I said, it's the biggest fulfillment in my life. It's the biggest treasure in my life. It's a miracle for me. So definitely, maybe I'm seeing it with other eyes, and that's why I'm welcoming all your comments in the comment section so we can have a chat, so we can get a broader picture. My lovelies, if you've watched thus far, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and to like this video. It definitely helps. Check out my socials on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, and Snap. And I use the same name, RUZHOFFS, just like here on YouTube. My angels, thank you so much for making me a mom, for being everything I ever prayed for and more. Thank you for being my friends. Thank you for being my life and travel buddies. Thank you for making life and parenting so easy for me, because you are really lovely boys. Thank you for giving me the honor and pleasure to become a parent. Thank you for teaching me and giving me unconditional love, and for being the longest, only constant in my life. I love you so much. Your mom. My lovelies, thank you so much for taking the front row seat in my head. Until next time,